All right, y'all, welcome to Money on the Table. We are about to get the party started. Thank y'all so much for being a part of this evening. This is a quick webinar, so it's not going to last too long, so you'll be able to get back to your evening very soon. But I wanted to share 10 money mistakes that you need to avoid while starting your business. Now, of course, every business is different, and there are going to be different things that you learn along the way and different things that you want to focus on. But here, 10 of the biggest mistakes that a lot of newbies make, including myself. So the great thing about having someone share with you some experiences is so that you don't have to do the same for yourself. So let's go ahead and get started with Money on the Table, 10 money mistakes I made that you need to avoid. So a little bit about Operation Evolve is that we're a branding strategy agency that focuses on helping you clarify your brand identity, create a strong brand strategy, and connect with your audience. And we do that through live events, one-on-one coaching and consulting, as well as digital resources such as ebooks, webinars, and courses. This is just a picture from one of our live events, Boss Babes Brunch Tour, which unfortunately is on pause, but we are working on some digital and virtual events to stay in touch with all the incredible ladies that we've met over the years across the country. So stay tuned for all of that. And a little bit about me, your hostess tonight. I started out in the event and branding and marketing space as a market manager. I've been able to manage over 30 national brand activations since 2013. And before then, even during my college experience, I worked doing recruiting for Disney College program and for Auburn University football. So figuring out your brand, getting in touch with your audience, figuring out the proper messaging to relay has been something I've been doing for quite some time. Also, I do some coaching with individuals, especially those who are just starting out and need some support launching their brand. I also do some pageant coaching as well. I'm a current pageant queen, but I use the same tools I use with companies that I use for individuals. Then also, like I said, brand strategists, helping you develop your personal and professional brand. But tonight, the reason we're here, and this is going to be, we'll probably focus in about 30 minutes. So this is not going to be a long webinar. This is going to be to the point. I didn't want to do a long, drawn-out introduction of sharing every single thing that Operation Evolve has done under the sun. But I want to share with you the 10 money mistakes that I've made that many new people make when you're getting started with launching your brand. So if you're ready, go ahead and drop a 1 in the chat box. All right, so let's get going. And I do want to apologize if you hear a little pickup noise in the background. I did travel home this weekend, so we have a lot of activity going around here, but we're going to keep the party rolling on this end. So let's start with number 1. The number 1 mistake that you're going to make when you're starting your brand off is having the wrong people, not only on your team, but also the people that you're trying to contact. So a really important thing for you to understand is, 1, when you're starting out, a lot of people really are hoping for family and friends to throw a bunch of support behind them, to share all of their things, to go to all their events. And unfortunately, that's not always the case. And because of that, it's easy to get discouraged. It's easy to be down on yourself because you feel like the people who are around you aren't giving you the love, aren't giving you the support that you feel like you deserve moving into launching your venture. But it's really important that before you get upset, before you cancel all your family members, that you figure out who your target audience is. And your target audience, that's going to be the people that you want to consistently purchase from you. And of course, it's really great when you have your family support, but oftentimes they're doing it out of love. They're doing it as a one-time purchase. What you want to do is develop some consistent customers who are going to come back to you time and time again because they actually need and want the product or service that you're providing. Now, when it comes to your team, this can be essential as well, because starting out, you just have to realize that first and foremost, if this is your baby, no one is going to have the same amount of passion as you will have. No one's going to be as excited as you are unless you have a co-founder who you started this from the ground up. But if you're bringing people onto your team, you have to understand that one, everyone isn't going to be a good fit for you just because they do the work that you think you need, or if they have some experience, it doesn't mean that they're going to be the right person for you. You're going to need someone who's able to see the vision and want to work towards it. You don't want people on your team who are trying to start something similar. You don't want people on your team who are just looking for some quick cash or a quick come up. You want people who are invested in the vision and want to see it come to fruition. And if you don't have people like that on your team, then you could be heading towards a little bit of trouble. So if anything at all, make sure that you have strong people around you at all times. So the wrong people, whether it be your audience that you're trying to sell to or the people that you put on your team, that can definitely affect how you go and how you grow. The second money mistake that I want to talk about today is time management. So something here I have, small typo, charges in my head, not my heart, and that is your urgency is not someone's problem. And also the early bird gets the work. Worm work too. So it gets the work. So when it comes to what it is that you're trying to do, you have to understand that even though you might be new, even though you are, starting out, time management is going to be something that you have to focus on, because like I said in here, your urgency isn't someone's problem. And if you are waiting around, if you're not on top of things, if you're not sending things on time, if you're not completing your work on time, then you're putting yourself in a position to potentially lose clients. You're putting yourself in position to make mistakes. You're putting yourself in position to really lose out on opportunities. So if you are sitting at home procrastinating all day and all of a sudden the entire day is going by and you haven't done the things on your to-do list, you're not being consistent with your work, then you're going to put yourself in a position to where you're losing out on potential clients. So starting out, whether or not this is a side hustle, whether or not this is something that you are doing full time, you need to make sure that you are managing your time well. Like a lot of people think that when you start entrepreneurship that you just, like, oh, I'm in charge of my own time. I can do whatever I want to. And that's not the case. You have to make sure that you still give yourself a schedule, because before you know it, you can be on Instagram all day and you haven't gotten anything done. You haven't sent the things in on time. And when it comes to certain industries, especially if you're working with more corporate clients, you definitely need to make sure that you're maximizing the time frame that you use to reach out to people, versus if you are doing sales and if you're doing business to consumer, and you're able to be on Instagram late night, if you're able to do these different lives, you're attracting a different audience. So you might be able to wait until nighttime to post or nighttime to go live. But depending on who your audience is, you want to make sure that you are maximizing your time and maximizing your day. So that's number 2. The third money mistake that you are making, and that a lot of beginners make, and that I made, is having a weak follow-up game. So as you're reaching out to people, so we're talking about time management, we talked about reaching out to people and how time is of the essence, especially the time of day in which you do it. But if you send out a pitch, if you send out an email, if you've had a call with someone, a strategy session, and you send the information and you don't hear from them, you automatically assume that they're not interested, or you automatically assume that they're not going to work with you, and you never follow up with them, you never check back in with them. You're losing out on opportunities. You have to make sure that as you are engaging with people and as you are growing your brand, that you are checking back in with the people that you initially spoke with. And there's a lot of reasons why people may not follow up with you immediately. It may be the wrong time of year, or that it may not be in the budget at the time. And a lot of times when you don't get that immediate yes, A lot of people want to move on to the next client, move on to the next thing, and that's not effective, because just because they're not ready to say yes now doesn't mean that they're not going to be ready in a couple of weeks, or they're not going to be ready in a couple of months. But if you write people off because you don't get an immediate yes, then you're missing out on money, you're missing out on opportunities. So as I talked about earlier with time management, sometimes you might need something or think that someone is ready right when you pitch to them, but they may not be ready to even speak with you, or you may not be ready or in a position to work with them until a year from then. But if you don't build that relationship or follow up consistently, then you're missing out on opportunities to grow the brand. So make sure that when you do have conversations with people, that you're continuing to follow up until they give you a definite no. No, we're not interested. We're not going to be interested. We're not making any changes until XYZ. But until you hear that definite no, leave us alone, don't contact us anymore, you need to make sure that you're continuing to follow up with those people until they say enough or they block you. Which we're hoping they don't, but it's a possibility. But you don't want to miss out on an opportunity because you heard not right now, and then you just said, well, forget them and I'm going to go on to the next person. The next mistake that people are making is not asking for help. And this is something that not only have I suffered from in the past, but continue to suffer from, because I'm the type of person who likes to do it myself. I like to be on top of things. I like to feel like I know what exactly is going on. But at the end of the day, I can't do everything, and you can't do everything. And a lot of times, instead of spending all the time focusing on things that we're not good at, if we're able to bring somebody on board to handle that task, we're freeing up hours for ourselves so that we can focus on the things that are going to generate the most revenue. So there's 3 notes that I want to share with this before I move on to the next tip. And the first is that people want to help you. They want to be a part of your journey, and there are people who may not be in position where you are right now, but they want to help, whether it's a volunteer, an intern, or a contractor, or even an hourly employee or a salaried employee. There are people who see your vision. And I talked about having the right people on your team earlier. This is really important. So there are people who do want to help you on the journey. And the second thing is that there's not always a price for help. So one thing I learned with Boss Babe's Brunch Tour, because it's my baby, because it's something that I played very close to the chest, I was very reluctant to start bringing on people to help at different stops across the country. But I realized that it gets really overwhelming trying to do everything by yourself. So that's when I started implementing ambassadors for the tour to help with promotions, to help with setup, to help with breakdown, to help with escorting guests in, to help with check-in. So I wasn't running around like a chicken with my head cut off. And guess what? The only fee that I had to pay them was any ticket sales that they made. They would get a percentage of ticket sales. And outside of that, they were happy to volunteer their time, happy to volunteer their services to make sure that the event went well. So regardless of what it is you do, whether it's you need someone to print shipping labels or to pack product or to send out emails or to do your social media, you can find some interns or ambassadors or someone who is just looking for a little bit of experience to come on board and help you with the process. And it'll be worth it. That's pretty much it. It'll be worth it at the end. And like I said, if there is a price, it'll be worth it. So say, for example, you know that your hourly rate as a consultant is $100. And you need someone to consistently send out pitches for you. And you can find either an intern or someone at $10 an hour, a virtual assistant, to do that for you at $10. Instead of you spending those hours sending out those emails, for $100, you can get 10 hours of someone doing that work for you. But imagine what you can get if you're working, instead of you working that $10 an hour job for 10 hours, then you working your $100 an hour job for 10 hours. So do you want to make $100 or do you want to make $1,000? You can pay someone $100, get 10 hours work, and that can give you a return. So make sure that you're just looking at the cost like that. And if you are able and in a position to even start contracting someone for a couple hours a week, that's a good direction to go into. All right, 5. The 5th thing that you are doing to leave money on the table is your pricing. Now, what's really important to understand about this is that just because you're a small business doesn't mean that your prices need to be small. You need to understand your value that you have and also understand that underpricing hurts you. A lot of people think that once you start in business, if you're a small business, that you need to start with low prices, or if you just started out as a consultant, or just started out opening your own law practice, or you just started out with these products or services, that you need to have low prices because that's going to attract more people. And that could be further from the truth, because low prices don't attract more people. That's a myth. It attracts the wrong people, and it can sometimes give you more of a headache than anything. But you want to make sure that your prices are in a place that is competitive with people in the same industry. So one way for you to make sure that you aren't making this money mistake is by setting the right price. And the way that you can set the right price is by doing some research. So figure out what is the industry rate. What are people in your industry charging? Do some research. Don't just pull prices out of thin air. Do some research and see what's comparable in your industry. And I'll tell you, I'm sharing my mistakes with you, but I recall during Boss Babes Brunch Tour, I remember my very first event, I was charging $15 for a ticket and was giving out unlimited mimosas and a buffet. And that didn't include the speakers, the decor, all the other things that come with hosting an event. But I was quick to give it away because I thought that, a cheaper price will get me the people that I want. It'll get me the things that I want. And that could be further from the truth. So it's really important that you understand what people are charging in your industry. And then also another thing with your pricing structure is to make sure that now I talked earlier about making sure that you aren't just charging prices anyway. Do some research. If you are new, so say for example you're a new graphic designer, I'm not telling you to not charge industry rate, but if you know that you don't have as much experience, or you are like literally this is your first time doing it, go with the market rate. It's really difficult to start a premium service or to charge a premium rate if you're not able to deliver. So if you are able to deliver, then make sure that you're charging that. So, and then I have on here that underpricing does hurt you, which it does. If you are underpricing hurts you for multiple reasons. Underpricing hurts you, one, because it attracts the wrong audience. Another reason underpricing hurts you is because it pretty much devalues the services that you're bringing. So, and then more than anything with underpricing, it is oftentimes going to attract the wrong audience. And you'll find yourself doing more work, like doing way more work for far less, and you end up getting frustrated. And what I found in the past is that when I try to do the most for the least price, that's when I get the biggest headache. So, like I said, before you get yourself caught up in this trap of trying to price low, thinking it's going to attract more people, understand that it's not. Unless you are positioning yourself as someone who provides, high quality for lower cost. If that's how you want to position yourself, there's nothing wrong with that. But if you are trying to create a premium product or service, or you want something that's going to grow over time, you have to understand that charging low rates is not going to get you the type of clientele that you want long term. And I promise you, especially if you are in service-based consulting, kind of like what we do at Operation Evolve with brand strategy and coaching, what you'll find is that your clients who are ready to put in the work, who don't have any issue with, they're not going to go back and forth with you on pricing, they don't have an issue paying the premium price. And there's something that one of my past brunch speakers shared with me that I love. I remember one time I was listening to a podcast and she said, go home, add $500 to your current rate. And next time you have a call, pitch that. And if the person says yes, that's your new rate. And I did that and it worked. So I definitely am a firm believer in charging a great rate that's competitive with the industry, that doesn't devalue the service or your experience. And if you are having an issue with putting a higher rate with your products or service, just give yourself the time and look over your resume and remind yourself why you deserve the rate that you're charging. Because I promise you, you do. All right, so we're going to talk about the 6 money mistakes that you're making. And this goes a little bit back to one that we talked about earlier, but it's more so being passive. Now, we live in a time of social media, so we see ourselves posting consistently. We see other people posting, consistently, or maybe not consistently, but we're seeing things on social media all the time, and we think that everyone is seeing it, and obviously if they see it and they want our products or services, then they're just going to buy it, right? Wrong. That's being passive. And even though you're actively posting, you're still not directly pitching to anyone specifically. So until you've built relationships with people and you've consistently, actively, individually asked people to, hey, can you buy this? Do you want to set up an appointment? What time can I come by? How many would you like? And they give you a direct answer, then you can't say that you're actively pursuing clientele. And an issue that I had was just automatically assuming that, oh, well, they see it, or, I sent an email or I sent a DM, and that's just not good enough sometimes. Sometimes you need to take a more active role, especially if you're in the service space where you do coaching, consulting, or any type of teaching or educational workshops. There's so many people in the space. So if you think that, because someone featured you or because you jumped into a DM that they're automatically going to see it, then, you're wrong. But if you take some time to make some phone calls, to visit some locations, to actively be out networking, to actively ask people to purchase, to actively set up at vendor spaces, to actively make phone calls, give presentations, things that's going to position you as an industry expert, an industry leader, then you'll start seeing, then you'll be able to passively get opportunities. And like we hear all these things about passive income, through ebooks and all this other stuff. But before you get to passive, most people typically are extremely active initially. So I know before I'm able to just send one email and get, 1,000 people to purchase a $9 ebook, that before I get there, I have to actually actively build my email list. So you have to look at some of the activities that you're doing in your business and make sure that you're actively doing it. Am I actively pitching? Am I actively creating opportunities or things for people to join my email list? Am I actively engaging on social media? Am I actively asking people to purchase my products or services? And if your answer to that is no, then it's time for you to figure out what you're going to do this week, today, to start being active in your brand so that you can eventually get to the space where you can do some things that's going to give you some passive income. But you have to be active, you have to be direct, and you can't assume that people are seeing the things that you're putting out there, because a lot of times they're not. You probably have thousands of friends on Facebook, thousands of followers on social media, Instagram. Everyone isn't seeing your stuff. So if you just assume that people are seeing it, and if you're not getting the results you desire, you get mad and you're cussing people out in your head, that's not the move. Just make sure that you are doing active things on a daily basis to position your product or service in front of your audience and actively asking them to engage with your brand. Whether it's liking the post, downloading this, joining this, watching that, purchasing this, but you have to guide your audience and inform them as to how they need to move forward with you so they can support you. The seventh money mistake that a lot of new brands make, including myself, is comparison. So that comparison is the thief of all joy, and it is the thief of all joy in your business as well, because as you are comparing yourself to other brands and comparing yourself thinking that thinking that you need to do what you saw some other popular influencer do or someone in the same space with more followers do, you're now taken away from yourself. So you're taken away from your authenticity, you're taken away from your brand story, you're taken away from your strengths because you think that you have to be like someone else. And again, that's not the case. You are your own individual, your own self. You don't have to position yourself in a way that makes you, you don't have to be like everyone else in the Instagram streets or the social media streets or even in your industry. You need to figure out what is your unique thing that's going to set you apart from your competitors. You need to figure out that thing that people are going to come specifically to you for. I'm trying to think of the actual industry term, and it's like literally on the tip of my tongue. It's literally on the tip of my tongue. I wish I could come up with it right, but it'll come to me eventually. But you need to figure out what your unique part of your brand is and be able to stand on that. There's nothing wrong with looking at other brands that are doing great things and taking a page out of their book. So, if you see a brand doing something that you are interested in, study it. There's a phrase that says success leaves clues. So there's nothing wrong with looking at other brands and seeing how they were able to get to a certain point, especially if you aspire to get there. But don't live your life with your brand trying to, compare notes. So, maybe I should post like this, or maybe I need to go live, or maybe I need to host an event. Maybe I need to write a book. Like if it's not anything that's in your brand plan or anything that you have a passion for that you can fully stand on and move forward with, then do not do it. Don't do it just because you see someone else doing it, because you could go down a path of just hotnessness, and that's not going to benefit anyone. So on to number 8, which is procrastination. I laugh because procrastination is one of my fatal flaws, and I have so many methods to help me avoid this. And sometimes it still creeps up on me, so I'm not going to be too difficult on myself, but it just really is what it is sometimes. So one thing I like to share is that procrastination is something that is based out of fear. A lot of times we know exactly what we need to do, but there's something going on mentally that's stopping us from moving forward. And it's really important that you get in touch with the why. Why am I holding back on this? Like, why am I not able to just do it? Because oftentimes once you realize, like, if you know, okay, I need to send this email to these three people, and you know it's only going to take you 10 minutes to send the email, but you're finding everything else that you need to do like you're doing everything except the one task that you need to do. So you need to figure out why. And even if you never figure out why it is that you're like holding back, you just need to force yourself to do it. And another way to do that is to write out some lists and eliminate distractions. And I'll share with you before I move on to the next thing that's stopping you from making that money and leaving money on the table. And John Maxwell talks about this principle of 5. It's really important because we all are busy. Like, we have a million things on our plates. Some of us have full-time jobs, not me. Like, Operation Evolve is my full-time job, part-time job, side hustle, and more. But, we have busy days. I would say figure out your top 5 things that you want to do that day to eliminate procrastination. So, do you need to send an email campaign? Do you need to pitch 5 people? Do you need to send 5 DMs? But I would figure out 5 things per day that you want to do. And if that's all you get done, then at least give yourself a pat on the back. But you need to make sure that you are making some type of progress every single day so that you can hit your goals faster. So, on to number 9. And that is the fear of rejection. And this might even go hand in hand with number 8 of procrastination. But a lot of times, because we're so afraid that the answer is going to be no, we avoid making certain calls. We avoid doing certain tasks. Even something as simple as posting consistently, like, oh goodness, what are they going to say about me because I'm posting about my business instead of posting my family more now? Or what if I make this call to this client or this potential client and they hang up on me? What if I go live and no one shows up? So we're afraid that, what we put out there into the atmosphere is not going to be received well, and that might overwhelm us with fear, and it'll stop us from moving forward. But again, like I talked about with procrastination, if you're able to break that down into tasks and just challenge yourself every single day to do something a little scary. So on that list of 5 that I just talked about, add one thing that just terrifies you and let that be the first thing you do. Knock it out. And what you will find 9 times out of 10 is that the thing that you were so afraid of was really nothing to be afraid of at all. So just make sure that you have one thing that's kind of making you scared, that makes your palms sweat a little bit on your to-do list every single day. And the more you do it, the more comfortable you'll get. The more comfortable you'll get, the more confident you'll get. The more confident you get, the more likely you will be able to get that task done quicker and with more ease, and eventually get the real progress that you're looking for. So do that one thing every day that scares you. And I promise you it'll get better. Now, this is the last mistake that I want to share, and that is not investing in myself. I can tell you time and time again, we look at, especially when you're starting out, money is tight, time is tight. You don't know what you're doing for real, so you're just kind of flying at the seat of your pants. You have to invest in yourself on this journey. And this can happen in so many ways, and I have 3 I want to share. The first is something that Operation Evolve does, which is business coaching, and even I have a coach. You need somebody who's been where you want to go, who can give you strategy, who can give you assistance, who can give you a clear path, who can help talk you through some confusing moments, some scared moments, and, connect you as well. So if you're not investing in business coaching, I'm sharing a link with everyone who's attending live for a complimentary strategy session, but you need someone to join you on the journey who has a clear path for you and help you gain some clarity, discover what it is that you want to work on, and walk more confident in the purpose of your personal or professional life. The second thing is mentorship. And mentorship and coaching can go hand in hand, but typically coaching is something that you'll invest in, but mentorship typically comes from someone with no cost. And if you don't have anyone in your life that you could see as a mentor in business, there's a great organization called SCORE that I use, and it's score.org. I'll make sure I share the link, but it's an incredible organization that focuses on business mentorship, and it's completely free. And I definitely suggest, if you do not have a mentor in business, that you find one through SCORE, because they're great. And lastly, you need a business bestie. And this is just someone who is in business as well, might be at the same level as you're in, And you just need someone sometimes to bounce some ideas off of, to talk about current struggles, and someone to support as well going through this entrepreneurial journey. Like I said, it's not easy. It's not always fun, but when you have someone who is on that journey with you, it just makes it so much easier. And I have a couple of business besties and accountability partners that I lean on to make sure that even on the bad days that I'm able to have a smile or have someone to help me or share resources with as we're both trying to grow and do great things. So with all of that, we've gone over the 10 money mistakes. I want to share with you an upcoming opportunities for you to grow your brand so that you can no longer make any mistakes and that you can just move forward in all the things that you want to do. We have the Build Your Brand Bootcamp. This will be available starting tomorrow, and it's $99. It's a 5-day, or it's on demand, so you can go at your pace. But this is a boot camp designed to help you grow your brand. It's 5 days. So the first day is talking about your business plan. Day 2 is understanding your product, price, promotion, and position strategy. On day 3, we're talking about how to find and grow your audience. On 4, we're talking about approaching and closing the deal with your prospects. So it's going to be heavily focused on sales. And day 5 is about adapting after mistakes, changes in the market, or a failed venture. It is on demand. It's going to come with 30-minute brand strategy call. You'll get worksheets, and replays will be available for you because this is an on-demand program. And again, that's $99, and all this information is going to go out. You can register and get more details at operationevolve.com/bootcamp. I would love for you to participate in that. Also, like I shared, for being a part of this, you will get a complimentary brand and strategy call. So make sure that if you do sign up, you'll get at operationevolve.com/bootcamp. You'll be able to register for a 30-minute branding call. And then also, if you look in the chat box, I have included a link for a complimentary strategy session as well. If you are looking for some quick tips on how you can grow your brand and see how you can work with Operation Evolve moving into the rest of quarter 3 in 2020. So that is it. Thank you so much for joining the Money on the Table webinar. You can connect with us. Thank you so much. I'm so glad that you were a part of it. Connect with us on social media. We're on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. You can follow us Operation Evolve, Boss Babes Brunch Tour, or Jessica C. Alexander. But thank you so much for joining tonight. And you have a wonderful, wonderful evening, and looking forward to speaking with you during our complimentary strategy session. Y'all have a wonderful night.